tension is rising in European waters once again. This week, the Royal Navy made headlines across the world after intercepting and shadowing a Russian warship that entered waters close to the United Kingdom's maritime zone. This wasn't just another patrol, it was a direct NATO operation, marking a historic moment for Britain's naval forces. Let's dive deep into what really happened, why it matters, and what this means for the growing standoff between NATO and Russia. The story began quietly in the North Sea. British radar systems detected a Russian destroyer, later confirmed as the Vice Admiral Kulikov, operating close to NATO maritime boundaries. The vessel had been moving through the North Atlantic, reportedly returning from exercises in the Mediterranean. Almost immediately, the Royal Navy was placed on alert. The Type 45 destroyer HMS Duncan, stationed in the Channel as part of the UK's Quick Reaction Maritime Force, was ordered to intercept and monitor the Russian vessel. Now, this type of intercept isn't entirely new. The Royal Navy routinely monitors foreign ships entering its area of responsibility. But this one was different. For the first time in history, the Royal Navy was operating under direct NATO command during such an intercept mission. That means every move, every radar lock, and every communication between the British crew and NATO command centers was coordinated as part of a larger joint defense network. It wasn't just about protecting British waters anymore. It was about sending a clear message to Moscow. NATO is unified, alert, and ready to respond collectively. The operation began early in the morning. HMS Duncan, a 152-meter-long Type 45 air defense destroyer, activated its Samson radar system, one of the most advanced in the world, capable of tracking hundreds of targets at once. On board, sailors and radar technicians took positions as orders came from NATO Maritime Command. At 06:42 GMT, the first visual contact was made. The Vice Admiral Kulikov appeared on the horizon, cutting through the mist of the North Sea. The Russian ship, an Udaloy-class anti-submarine destroyer, was sailing at moderate speed, maintaining a distance of roughly 25 nautical miles from UK waters. According to reports, HMS Duncan maintained a defensive but cautious distance, tracking the vessel as it moved southwest toward the English Channel. At the same time, Royal Navy Wildcat helicopters from the HMS Somerset were deployed to provide aerial surveillance, relaying real-time images and radar data to both NATO and the UK Ministry of Defense. This kind of coordination is crucial, because it shows how quickly NATO can integrate British forces into its chain of command when tensions rise. But why was a Russian destroyer sailing so close to Britain's coast in the first place? That's the question intelligence analysts have been debating. Russia claims these are routine naval transits through international waters, something every major navy does. However, Western defense officials see it as part of a broader pattern of Russian maritime activity, meant to test NATO response times and signal military presence near European borders. In the last year alone, the Royal Navy has tracked over a dozen Russian vessels near UK and Irish waters, from submarines and spy ships to fuel tankers and destroyers. But this intercept stood out because it involved NATO command authority and direct multi-nation coordination with Dutch and French naval units. For London, that coordination sends a powerful diplomatic signal that the UK remains a core pillar of NATO defense, even after Brexit, and that its navy remains one of the most advanced maritime forces on Earth. Let's talk about the ships themselves for a moment. The HMS Duncan, launched in 2010, is one of the Royal Navy's most sophisticated destroyers. It's equipped with the Sea Viper missile system, capable of hitting aircraft, drones, or missiles up to 70 miles away. Its radar system can detect a tennis ball-sized object moving at supersonic speeds, and its onboard command system links directly to NATO radar and communications satellites. Meanwhile, the Vice Admiral Kulikov, though older, remains a powerful vessel in the Russian Navy's northern fleet. It carries anti-ship missiles, torpedoes, and Ka-27 helicopters for submarine tracking. Its presence near UK waters always draws NATO's attention, especially during times of heightened geopolitical tension. During the Intercept, communication between the ships remained professional but tense. According to naval sources, both sides followed international maritime law, maintaining safe distances and avoiding any aggressive maneuvers. But make no mistake, these operations are psychological as much as they are tactical. Every time a Russian ship sails close to NATO waters, it's seen as a message from Moscow. And every time NATO responds quickly and calmly, it's a message back, a demonstration of readiness and resolve. One Royal Navy officer described the mission as controlled chess at sea, a constant test of patience, professionalism, and precision. By midday, the Russian ship had passed through the channel, escorted and monitored every mile by NATO surveillance aircraft, Dutch frigates, and HMS Duncan. After completing its passage, it continued northward into the Atlantic, still under NATO observation. No confrontation occurred, but the symbolism was clear. The Royal Navy, operating as part of a unified NATO force, had successfully executed a joint maritime intercept within hours of detection. That kind of efficiency shows just how closely integrated Western defense has become since the war in Ukraine began in 2022. Now let's discuss the bigger picture, because this event isn't just about ships. It's about power, perception, and presence. Russia has been increasing its naval activities across the Arctic, Baltic, and North Atlantic. Submarine movements, reconnaissance missions, and test deployments have all risen sharply since 2023. At the same time, NATO's response capabilities have evolved, with improved satellite tracking, AI-driven radar networks, and better coordination between allied fleets. The intercept near UK waters demonstrates the strategic chess game unfolding across Europe's maritime borders. Experts say the timing is no coincidence. This intercept happened just days after Russia conducted joint naval drills with China in the Pacific, showing a growing alliance between the two powers. In response, NATO forces have intensified surveillance in the North Atlantic corridor, the vital route connecting North America to Europe through which reinforcements would travel in case of conflict. So every time a Russian ship sails through that region, it's not just passing, it's testing NATO's readiness. And this time, the response was immediate, coordinated, and public. Let's take a closer look at NATO's role. This mission was commanded from NATO Maritime Command headquarters in Northwood, just outside London. From there, multinational teams oversee operations across European waters, ensuring that every ship, aircraft, and radar station works in sync. For the Royal Navy, this was a milestone, a chance to prove that it can operate seamlessly under NATO authority, demonstrating that UK defense remains deeply tied to its allies. The success of this intercept also boosts morale within the alliance, especially at a time when Baltic tensions and Black Sea conflicts continue to evolve. Meanwhile, in Moscow, Russian state media downplayed the event, calling it a routine passage and accusing NATO of provocation. However, analysts see the Kremlin's tone as part of its broader strategy, projecting normalcy while signaling to its domestic audience that Russia's Navy can still operate freely. Western intelligence, on the other hand, reads these events as pressure tactics, testing the edges of NATO defense zones without crossing the line into open confrontation. From a political perspective, this operation also reinforces the UK's image as a frontline defender of Western security. Post-Brexit, some questioned how closely Britain would remain tied to NATO and EU-led defense efforts. But operations like this one erase all doubt, showing that Britain's global military influence is still strong and deeply interlinked with transatlantic defense structures. It also comes at a time when public support for defense spending is rising in the UK, following years of cuts. The sight of HMS Duncan on global news, shadowing a Russian destroyer, sends a clear message. Britain's Navy is not just symbolic, it's active, alert, and fully capable. Now let's step back and ask the bigger question. What does this mean for the future of NATO-Russia relations? Analysts predict a continued increase in naval encounters, especially in the North Sea, Arctic routes, and the Mediterranean. Both sides will continue to project power, not to start war, but to remind each other that the balance of influence remains contested. These intercepts are likely to grow more frequent, but they're also key to preventing escalation. By maintaining communication, professionalism, and adherence to international law, both militaries can avoid the kind of accidental conflict that history has shown to be devastating. So what can we take away from this? First, the Royal Navy remains one of NATO's sharpest tools in maritime defense. Second, Russia continues to probe and test, seeking information and leverage. And third, NATO's unity and rapid coordination are proving to be powerful deterrents. This single intercept might look like just another ship encounter, but in reality, it's part of a much larger story, the ongoing test of global order between East and West. By the time the HMS Duncan returned to port, its crew had logged hundreds of hours of high-pressure monitoring and coordination. No missiles fired, no confrontation, but mission accomplished. The Royal Navy proved once again that sometimes the strongest message is delivered in silence, through presence, precision, and professionalism. As tensions simmer on the world stage, this intercept reminds everyone the seas around Europe are never truly calm. Every wave carries history, and every ship tells a story of power, vigilance, and diplomacy.